So now we just have two of the six, I think it was, Sanya sutras and related sutras to verb forms and or forms of verbs, I guess you could say. And how hard could that be, right? And I could put the next two together in one conversation, but you just never know, do you? So I'm going to do them one at a time. So 1, 2, 31, which is 7 in Siddhanta Kaumadi, Samaharaha Svaritaha. Samaharaha Svaritaha. Samaharaha is combination. Combination of what? Well, let's think. We'll put on our thinking caps and go back to Ukalo Trasvidirga Plutaha Achascha Uchayarudataha Nichayaranudataha. So, Samaharaha Svaritaha has an anuvrtahi of ach. And we have Samaharaha ach Svaritaha. Now, I don't actually know why Uchayara Udataha and Anudataha don't come into this anuvrti traditionally, or at least as I was presented with it. But I guess you could say it's pretty obvious because they just preceded. So, a combination vowel is called svarita, and it's a combination of udata and anudata, and that is called svarita. Now, first little twist, I could say, which is very recent because it's something I just went over, and which was after I did this little visual aid. And what this visual aid says is what I was told, and what one is often told, that Svarita only occurs in Veda and in Ashtadhyayi in a technical sense. But turns out that's not 100% entirely true, because we have already used the very favorite sutra of mine as an example a couple of times, and we will go beyond that before terribly long. Vakyasya tehe pluta udataha. Vakyasya tehe pluta udataha. In a sentence, the T, in place of the T of a sentence, there can be a pluta udataha. Pluta udataha. So that is a prolongated vowel, which is also udataha. Uchayar udataha. And we have been through the all of the possible ways of thinking about uchayar, and we've come up with a higher place of articulation and, in practical terms, higher tone. So the T of a vakyasya of a sentence can be replaced by a prolongated vowel with an elevated tone. Now, this is a sutra which is incomplete because it doesn't give the conditions, and it's followed by a number of sutras which I learned and I will share with you. But over time, I've become curious about this because it becomes really fascinating. Now, one thing that is special about this, Vakyasya tehe pluta udataha, is that it is unambiguously about spoken Sanskrit. At the end of a sentence, that means a spoken sentence. It's not Veda, it's just spoken sentence. And some of the conditions for it, duratutecha, when calling from a distance, hai he prayoge, hai he yoho, also when calling he and hai from a distance. Now, why does that have to be different? Well, since we're on the topic, hai and he are not sentences, so they deserve special mention. Now, as it happens, in addition to the sutras which I was originally taught, there are quite a few, I counted them once, maybe 20 other conditions that in which Pluta Udata are used. And then, good grief, I didn't really take it in until earlier today. There are a handful, I can't remember, maybe 4 in which Swarita applies. And then there are some of these which do occur in sacrifice ritual terms, meaning Veda, but some of them are clearly not Veda. And so there is this one very small spot, as far as I know, where Swarita does occur in speech. And as I'm sort of building up to some of my thoughts about Panini, Patanjali, and the shift of a lot of things between them and subsequently. But one is that whereas Mahabhasya is explicitly based on Patanjali's introductory comments, has a lot to do about Veda, sacrifice, being correct in the sacrifice, and all of these things that are non-trivial. But what is not necessarily put in the same thought very often, Panini was definitely not focused on Veda. He was explicitly focused on the spoken use of Sanskrit. He was very explicit. And when it's Veda, he says Veda in one way or another. We've touched on that a couple of times. But so that's one little wrinkle in the Samaharaha Swaritaha story, the Swarita story, which is actually news to me, so I'm sharing it with you. Now, the other is, as you have been following along, you may be beginning to have a doubt, because if there was a doubt about what high is and what low is, you can bet your bottom dollar that there's probably a doubt in the same crowd about what Samaharaha is when it comes to 2 different vowel tones. And is it obvious? Well, no, it's not. And it's not obvious in several ways. One of which will pertain to the next sutra we're going to do, but one of which pertains to this one. And this is one of my rare dives into Mahabhasya, of course, accompanied by numerous other, accompanied by actual grammarians who have brought it to my attention and so on. But this is what Mahabhasya says about the Samaharaha question. And this is, I think I'll put the original maybe in my notes if I have the energy, but right now we'll go with the meaning. The meaning is, what Patanjali says is, for example, the quality known as whiteness is termed Shukla. The quality known as blackness is termed Krishna. The one which now combines both these qualities receives the 3rd name, Kalmasha or Saranga. Saranga is a name dear to my heart for various reasons, one of which we will come to in the Sandhi Sutras. Or Saranga, meaning, as it's translated, variegated, part white, part black. Similarly, here also, meaning a vowel, which is pronounced with the quality udata, is termed udata. One which is pronounced with the quality anudata is termed anudata. And the one which now combines both these qualities receives the 3rd name, Swarita, high and low. So there we go. Ukalo jrasvadir gaplutaha, achascha, uchayarudataha, nicharanudataha, samaharaha swaritaha. And next time, we will dive more deeply into this swarita question. Thank you.